Sponsored by Local Touch Online, a free online magazine that has an exclusive article by Pop Culture Geekery every month. Texas Gamers Lounge in Austin and San Marcos is changing their business model during these social distancing times. Their companion company, ArcadesForHome.com, will continue to offer arcade cabinets for purchase, for repair, and they can also move them. They will still have some online tournaments you can enter, so go to TexasGamersLounge.com to find out what the latest tournament is. All right, so we're taking a little break from our DC countdown to do a new release, which is nice because I haven't done a new release of anything in a few weeks. So, but I brought on my co-host August Balser. So thank you for joining us through the magic of technology on here.
No problem.
Because August is still in college, so he has been living this online college life for the last couple of weeks.
It's insane. all these video, it's like I know what I'm doing.
Well, at least you know what you're doing. See, my wife's a teacher, and with her students, which are grade school students, all of a sudden they don't know how to use technology. So, yeah, it's amazing. But so tonight we're gonna go over the new release, which is Mortal Kombat Legends: Scorpion's Revenge, which is a title that to me is eerily reminiscent of X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, I'm just saying that it's obvious that they are setting this up in such a way to where they can have other projects under that banner. Um, so one thing I wanted to kind of just I guess briefly go over for each of us is kind of like what is our history with Mortal Kombat, because I know one of the things in our past discussions, August, I know that Sarah makes fun of me for it, but I appreciate the fact that you're like 20 years younger than me and that you like a lot of the same stuff, because it gives me hope for the future that pop culture does work in different generations. So
Yeah, man. A lot of this stuff is just timeless. There are always going to be people who like it.
yeah, hopefully more rather than less, so that way it can
Especially
continue
when
after
it
the
comes
current
to video
crisis.
games like Mortal Kombat, because 20 years from now, people will still be able to play the original Mortal Kombat.
Um, so I'll give my just kind of brief history of the game, and then you give me yours. But so like with many things with pop culture that I can say because of my age, I was there at the beginning when the first Mortal Kombat arcade machines started hitting. I remember it was our local Pizza Hut that actually had a small little arcade section that it got Mortal Kombat, and then me and a couple of my best friends from high school. One of them, he lived behind the local Stop and Shop, and so our town was sort of separated by a highway. And on the one side, you had the Stop and Shop, which had Mortal Kombat, and so we'd cross the highway to the other convenience store, which had Street Fighter. So it was always a lot of fun to play that with them and to hear them trash talk each other. Um, in fact, I got a nice little picture of them, probably a good, I don't know, 15, 20 years after the fact, kind of a reunion at one of the cons where they were playing it. So if I find that picture, I'll throw it up for y'all to see. But yeah, this is just definitely one of those that I've grown up with. I was probably more into it with the original 4 games, I would say. Um, I remember playing each of them in the arcade and then getting the home console versions. After that, I will admit I did lose track of the series until I want to say Mortal Kombat 9 or 10. I don't remember which one I have. And also when they did the DC versus Mortal Kombat, which is a crazy crossover. I also got to see the famous Mortal Kombat movie when it first came out. In fact, I still remember being in the theater and the logo coming on screen and just yelling Mortal Kombat. It was so awesome. And then we got the infamous follow up, Mortal Kombat
Oh
Annihilation.
God.
Yeah, which we don't talk about that one.
Yeah,
So
we don't talk about that.
since then, I know that there was a kind of a watered down cartoon, uh, and I actually had me and my brother had some of the toys, which I unearthed recently. Um, and then I don't know what else there was beyond. There was that one online series called Mortal Kombat Legacy that came out, um, and
They've
then
had a
that's
few web series, especially when they rebooted it in the Xbox 360 era.
so. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your background with the game?
So, unlike you, when the original Mortal Kombat came out, I was but a sparkle in my father's eye. And so my first experience with Mortal Kombat is when I took martial arts weapons, no, just martial arts classes like kids do. They would have like sleepover nights at the dojo, and there were two movies that they would always play: the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Mortal Kombat movie. And there's only one scene where they curse in the Mortal Kombat movie, and I can remember my instructor going, "Guys, don't say that." And so that was my introduction to Mortal Kombat. And then other than that, I had no real connection to it. But I first started playing games during the Xbox 360. So I got that reboot when it came out, and I loved that game. I played the next one, and I think the last Mortal Kombat I played was X, but not the most recent one. So like I have a good amount of experience with like the more modern stuff, and I like the characters. The designs are great. So I'm not like a hardcore Mortal Kombat guy, but like I have enough knowledge to know what's going on.
Yeah, that's probably the way I would describe myself as well, because I know, one of my friends was asking me about these more recent games, and I was just like, I check them out if I can. If not, I don't like I don't actively seek them out. Um, so when this project was first announced, I was like, okay, that's cool. I'll check it out. I know you showed interest in checking this out. So here at the beginning, we're going to do no spoilers, especially since it just came out on digital, and then it won't come out to be for rent and for the physical copy until April the 28th. So if you just want to hear if it's worth checking out, just stick around here at the beginning, and then there will be a clear cutoff where we will start the spoilers. So so lately with these, I've just taken notes. I don't know how you did it, but let's see here. Oh, I will say that they did seem to have fun from the beginning. I don't know that this is so much a spoiler, but if you ever wanted to see Scorpion versus Daffy Duck, you get to see it in the intro.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the logo, with the Warner Brothers logo, they had fun with. So I thought that was funny. But so, do you want me to kind of take us through, or do you want to do it? Or
I mean, I can just shout out some initial thoughts I had. Um, I appreciated it stayed pretty true to the video game. I mean, you get pretty much everything you want from a Mortal Kombat movie. Even like not in the old combat games, but the newer ones, they have the X-ray moves, and they do a whole bunch of the X-ray moves in the movie. And overall, I think the movie has quite a few problems, but it's really fun to watch. And so it's a lot like the game, and you're not really playing the game for the story, even though some of the lore is kind of cool. You're more watching it for the action, just like you're playing the game for the gore and the fighting. And it definitely doesn't skimp on the gore. And I think the choreography in the animation is really good.
yeah, and that's kind of what I was expecting going in. Because some movies, especially for established franchises like this, you kind of know what you're gonna get. Yeah, it's definitely an enjoyable movie. I would say the animation is definitely on par with like some of these DC animated movies I've been seeing lately.
Yeah.
They just added in the gore, but but yeah, I guess we'll just kind of go over some of the things. Like, I guess I'm trying to think like if I was any Mortal Kombat fan, like what would I be looking for in this? Uh, um, Number one, obviously, you're going to be looking for the fights. There are plenty of fights in here. Of course, some of them are better than others. Some of them are focused on more than others, and some of them you may be arguing with your friends about the outcome of some of
Yeah.
them.
I
But
mean, yeah,
maybe
it doesn't skimp on the action. The movie never really stops.
yeah, and it's only an hour and 20 minutes long, which seems to be the average of most animated projects nowadays. So that I've noticed again with doing the DC animated countdown we're doing, I've noticed it truly is a balancing act with that with that time limitation. Um, and so on those movies, we've noticed so far that with the exception of when we did DC Flashpoint, the other ones that are more group movies seem to suffer from jumping around to the different groups. Now, I will say, obviously, as you can tell by the title, uh, they decided to focus on Scorpion with this one, which I guess is smart because um, to me, he's kind of the face of Mortal Kombat. You know,
Oh
some of
yeah,
the quotes that
100%.
people, yeah, the quotes that people say, you know, like "get over here" and all that, that all comes from him. So I think it was smart that they chose to do that. But at the same time, because there's so many characters that people love from that initial lineup, you kind of you see that they're trying to give everybody, you know, a decent amount of screen time to where not everybody's relegated to a cameo. So, what did you think about
Yeah,
that aspect of the
honestly,
movie?
it's my main issue with the whole movie is just the overall story. It's like they wanted to make a Scorpion movie, but instead they made just the original Mortal Kombat story, which we've seen a bunch of times. It's been retold in a bunch of games. So I wanted it to focus more on Scorpion, but in the end, it's just kind of the first Mortal Kombat. It was like they were unsure of what story they wanted to tell.
Yeah, and maybe it's possible that they did start with that. Maybe that's the whole reason for the title. Uh, but again, you know, maybe there was a dictation somewhere of, well, you know, we really need to have Liu Kang. We really need to have, you know, Sonya Blade. We really have to have Kano and Johnny Cage. It's like, okay, well, like you said, let's just do Mortal Kombat 1 again, except we get this cool prequel or prelude that
Yeah,
focuses on Scorpion.
yeah. It gives you more insight to like what Scorpion's doing during the whole thing, but in the end, it is just Mortal Kombat 1.
One thing that I found interesting about this one, though, if talking about that, is that it seems like most of the lore, you know, there was some lore in the first one for sure, but it seems like it really solidified by the second game, and you notice that a lot here, to where you have, again, I don't really know that this is spoiler territory. I mean, you have the roster from the first game because that's almost like expected, you know. so
Yeah,
so everybody on the opening roster is accounted for. It's when you get into the second game roster that's where they're kind of picking and choosing. Some people are more, and this is where I won't spoil stuff, but people from the roster of the second game, some of them have more importance here, and some of them are just cameos, basically. Um, and one in particular is a setup for future project. Well, not necessarily for their own project, but definitely the outcome of their fight left it wide open to, you know, what happens
definitely.
to them later. So
Yeah,
I know you know who you know who I'm talking about, but we won't spoil it. So let's see what else.
and see, like for me, I can't even distinguish what characters are first and second game because, like, I think it's Kano and Reptile are second game characters, maybe. I'm not sure, but like to me, all of the characters in this movie are just classic Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, they didn't really. Well, I don't know the newer ones as much, especially any that were in the latter games, because I know up to four for sure, because four up to four they stayed pretty consistent. The characters didn't change too much. So any characters that came after that, I didn't really pick up on. Um, let's see here. I didn't really. there was some voice cast members in here that I recognized from the DC movies.
Yeah, me too.
Only one actress that I knew from other things, which is Jennifer Carpenter, I believe. She's actually from Dexter, and she plays Sonya Blade.
Oh.
I don't know if you ever saw Dexter, but she plays his
Is she
sister.
Dexter's sister, right?
hmm
Yeah, I know her.
So,
And then I think the voice of Goro, I don't know his name, but he's done a ton of acting. I think he was the guy that was the original Lex Luthor in the Superman animated series.
that would make sense. I have to look that up. I'll probably post some of these as we're talking about them, because we kind of wanted to get this out, now, so that way people will know whether or not this is worth checking out.
Yeah,
Um,
this is our hot take.
yeah, literally hot off the press. uh, well, yeah, I guess I don't really have too much to say that's not spoilery. So I guess ultimately, I would say it's worth checking out, but whether or not you should buy it now, if you're a hardcore Mortal Kombat fan, yeah, you're probably going to buy it now anyway. If you're kind of a casual fan like us, like if you hadn't asked me to review this, I probably would have waited, honestly. um, because we pretty much got what I expected, and I think with my rating, I have a feeling that I'm going to be a little bit more forgiving than you are,
Yeah,
because uh, so
I
with our
tend to be a
ratings.
little harsh.
So with our rating system, we do 1 to 10, 5 being an average movie. So for us, that just means you watched it, you're done with it. Doesn't necessarily mean that it was bad one way or the other. Um, yeah, I kind of prepped myself knowing what I expected in this. So, and I pretty much got everything I expected. So uh, I just settled on a 7 out of 10 with this one. But I feel like
Oh,
you're going to go a little bit lower.
see, so I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much had this been just its own project. Like, if it wasn't characters that I already have some connection to, I don't think I would have ever watched it or would ever watch it again. But at the same time, I did have a lot of fun watching it. Like, I wasn't mad that I bought it. Like, I might watch it again sometime because, I'm sick. I like all the gore, just like I like in the games. But as a whole, I didn't love the voice acting, didn't love the character designs. The story's not great, so I was thinking like a 4, like a slightly below average movie,
Oh
if
wow.
I had average.
Then we have a big gap between here. I
Yeah,
think that's the first four we've given on the show.
oof.
Uh, hey
Didn't
man,
mean to
it's
set
all
any
right.
records.
Hey man, you got to go with what you feel. So, but yeah, so you're basically saying that it's not even an average movie. It's that it's losing points for you because of some of those issues that we can talk
Yeah,
about more in
uh,
depth with
I
spoilers.
I really think if it wasn't a familiar IP and that these were already characters we kind of know about, we would feel a lot differently. Like,
Yeah,
um, so I guess this kind of counts as a spoiler, but I don't imagine anyone watching this will be bothered by it. Is like there's a whole story arc with Jax, Sonya, and Kano, and it's just never explained. And if it wasn't Jax, Sonya, and Kano, I don't think we would be nearly as forgiving of it.
oh yeah, I get what
It's
you're
just
saying.
like these two don't like each other, but they never tell you why.
Yeah, no,
And
that's
I think
true.
there's a lot of loose ends in the movie like that, at least story wise.
Yeah, and I think maybe they were leaving all that stuff open on purpose for the sequel that they're hoping they get. So,
Yeah, I mean, it 100% sets up a sequel.
all right. So real quick before we move on to spoilers, just want to say thank you to those of you who have subscribed so far. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It does help the channel out. Um, if you like the video, hit like. Check us out on all our different social medias. Um, August does do some awesome toy photography, so I'm going to post a link to his Instagram below.
Yeah, just like a
And
rational adult should.
well, there are many, many of you. So just put in hashtag
It's
action
true.
figure photography and you'll see. But yeah, so for now, for those of you who want to hear all about the movie, here come the spoilers. All right, so if you're still here, then that means you either have seen the movie or you want to hear the spoilers and still make your decision of whether or not this is worth seeing. So yeah, I think I'm gonna let you lead this in since you lost. This movie lost a lot of points with you, so
I
so go for
Again,
it.
I think the movie is really fun. It's fun to watch. It's just all about watching fight scenes, but story-wise, man, like it's just not very good. It's trying to do too many things. And luckily the strongest character I think is Scorpion, and he's the character we all want to see, but there are a lot of things that are just never explained. Like, hey, this is Raiden. We're not going to really introduce him, but he and this other character we haven't really introduced know each other. And character Raiden that we don't haven't been introduced to has been training Liu Kang, another character we've known for 30 seconds, and there's just no explanation as to why they know each other, why he chose Liu Kang to train to be the chosen one. I'm doing quotes, but you can't see me. Um, and like I said, there's just a lot of stories like that. We don't really get any history between Scorpion's clan and Sub Zero's clan. I don't think it's even until later in the movie that they call Sub Zero's clan by name, which I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it's called the Lin Kuei or something like that.
Yeah, the Lin Kuei. And then the one I pointed out in the non-spoiler part was, so when they first get to the tournament, which is I think a really awesome scene because you just see all these crazy characters and they're fighting and ripping each other's arms up, Mortal Kombat stuff. And Jax comes out and he's a prisoner, and Sonya freaks out, but it's never explained why he's a prisoner, and it's never explained how Kano took them prisoner. It doesn't give us any backstory on those characters at all. It's just kind of like, oh, Mortal Kombat, Mount Combat, combat fans are watching this, so they know what's going on. But like for me, who's really not familiar with the lore that much, I was just like, why does Sonya hate Kano? Who is Kano? We never find out who Kano is in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that, and maybe that's why I scored it higher because I guess my mind already knows all that backstory, and so I guess that's probably a true testament to this that maybe it's not so much for new people, but for I did see one reviewer talk about like there was a love letter to the fans, so that I can see for
Oh
sure.
yeah, definitely. And that's something I know about Mortal Kombat is the story has just gotten insanely convoluted, and that's probably some reason a reason that I've just kind of blanked it out of my mind. But I can see it being a letter to the fans, and I guess something like this should be because it's a straight to DVD animated movie. But at the same time, I still think there can be a level of nuance in writing the story, and just from a pure story standpoint, there were a lot of things that didn't make sense or were just never explained at all.
Yeah, because I think we talked about it in non spoilers where they as soon as and we're just gonna kind of jump around here, guys. So I apologize if this is not as linear, but like August said, if you know Mortal Kombat, you pretty much understand. Um, but I was going to talk about the whole thing with Jax. It's like as soon as they put him up against Goro, I'm like, oh, he's losing his arms.
Yeah, yeah, I knew that much. I was like, okay, so we're getting the arm ripping scene.
But yeah, I guess really the only new part, like you said, is just the beginning where they show Scorpion. They show. I was kind of trying to figure out at the beginning. I didn't realize that because I didn't remember his real name, which is Hanzo Hasashi. But I thought because it shows him and his son, so I thought that the father was Scorpion's father, that the kid was Scorpion. So I thought we were truly getting like a backstory, like as him as a little kid. But then when Sub Zero's clan attacks and Sub Zero's older, then I was like, wait a second, okay, so no, never mind. That makes more sense because they're not supposed to be different ages.
That
Um,
the very beginning scene is really cool. It's this animation of a bunch of ants attacking a scorpion, which is mirrored later when he's in the Nether Realm, and I thought that was a really cool connection. Like I said, some of the animation in this is really great.
Yeah, I did appreciate how they kind of established the three different worlds because in the classic movie, of course, you had Earth, and then they established what Outworld was. But I was never clear about the Netherrealm, which is basically their version of Hell, which they kind of make fun of in this.
Yeah.
Um, but let's see. So for those of y'all who want to know who's in it, like I said, it's pretty much the starting roster of the original game, uh, plus plus Goro. Um, but you also get, let's see here. They mentioned Shinnok. I think I didn't look him up, but I think doesn't he come out in the game later? Isn't there a
Yes.
character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the game later, and he's the main antagonist.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's where I think I stopped following because I remembered the name briefly, but I didn't remember all the connections. Um, like they had Quan Chi was in his place while he had been, I guess, imprisoned by Shang Tsung. So this is where like you talk about that the lore starts coming in. Let's see here. There's some other ones that I thought might have been cameos. Well, at first I saw what I thought was Reptile cameo, but then he actually comes out and fights Sonya. I guess I saw one of Motaro's races, somebody of his race. Um,
Was that
the one
the
that,
Centaur?
yeah, yeah. But I thought I saw two of them, so I don't know. I don't think it was actually him. Uh, Johnny Cage actually fights Baraka, who I saw at first. I saw one who could be Sindel, but I wasn't sure. She was in the crowd. Um, they could have just been peppering characters in there, or just too many lookalikes.
Yeah, a
Um,
little bit. I think it's after the reptile fight. We see Katana too, and I was kind of surprised that she was more of a cameo than just an actual established character. She only really has that one little conversation with Liu Kang, and that's it.
yeah, that's true. And I remember, again, back to the original Mortal Kombat movie, she had a much bigger role, much more significance, which I'm sure they could play on later. But she is one of the characters from the second game, or that was introduced in the second game. Let's see here. What did you think of Johnny Cage, like the character that he was? I mean, he seems to always be kind of portrayed that way, but this one might have been a little bit over the top. I don't know.
I don't know if it was over the top because he's very over the top in the games, but in the games he ends up having some redemption. Like you see some character in him, and he never really has that like redemption arc in this movie, at least to me. Like there's the part where he goes and saves Sonya, and think that's supposed to be it, but he never like shows his like compassionate nature that you kind of see in the games. He's always kind of the goofball of the movie.
Oh, so you were expecting him to do an actual friendship?
Yeah. Yeah. I also thought so they do this whole thing where he thinks the tournament's a movie, and I thought that gimmick went on way too long. I was like, "All right, we've done the joke. Let's move." But he doesn't figure it out until like way after his fight with Baraka.
Yeah, yeah. Which the fight with Baraka should have been more than enough to convince him. Let's see here. I think that pretty much covers all the cameos. There definitely was some attention to detail. Like I noticed the guards that Scorpion kills in order to get the key uh, that's supposed to free Shinnok. Those are the guards from the background of the first game. I don't know if they've got the weird kind of fox masks.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know that. That's cool.
yeah, I'll put a picture up of it. Just little things like that, and of course, um, we get at least three versions of finish him. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
one finish her.
I mean, you
Uh,
get all the classic stuff you'd expect to see. Like you get the get over here, and you get all the fatalities. And was there ever a fatality? Like they say fatal. I don't think they do say fatality,
no, they don't actually say it. They
but there
just do
is
the
finish him.
yeah. And when Johnny finishes Baraka, he actually says "toasty," which is a long running joke from the
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
um, It was so funny playing that growing up, and that dude's head would pop up and do that. You're like, what? It's like, was that meant to distract me so I can lose and pop in more quarters? What was that? um, Man, I don't really have too much else. I all I really did was pretty much just go through.
Yeah, I feel
Uh,
like I've complained a lot about it, but that being said, and those complaints being said, like I still had fun watching it. Like it's very over the top, and if you like Mortal Kombat, you'll like this movie.
yeah. So, so yeah, I guess we'll just cut it off there. Because I definitely want to try to get this out this week to let you guys know whether or not to give it a try. So, but if you stayed here through spoilers again, thanks for watching. Keep it on the lookout for the rest of the parts of our DC countdown. Still have other videos in the works that have to do with gaming and stuff. So keep an eye out for that. Again, check out August and his toy photography. He does a lot of fun little mashups that you wouldn't think of. I love opening my Instagram and all of a sudden it's just like Hellboy versus Batman, and but it's not for the reasons that you would think. That's what I like what you do. You're like, you pick like a little aspect of the toy and you make a connection.
Try to embrace the satire of all this goofiness.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for watching, and we will see y'all next time.
Thanks.